Okay, again, we're going backwards a little bit, but we didn't have this on the quiz, and we didn't really go over this too much, so we are going to go back to section R5, even though we already took a quiz on it. So, but we're going to do the sum and difference of two cubes. Cubes. There we go. All right, so that's the little title to what we're going to do here. All right, let me get this marker going. Put a color in there. There we go. All right, so let's do this. The sum and difference. So what's the sum mean? What are we talking about when you're talking about a sum of something? You're just adding up, okay? So you're going to add something up, and obviously the difference is subtraction. All right, so let's do the sum of two cubes. I'm not even going to write that in there. Let's just do this. So what would that look like? It would look like this. A plus B in parentheses cubed. All right? Let me just find my notes here because I want to find some examples. Where are my examples for this? Give me a second. Sorry about that. Thought I had it. Well, let's just teach it. Okay. So if I want to factor this thing out, okay, if I want to multiply this thing out, I should say, I'm sorry. Yeah, if I want, let's just do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to put two sets of parentheses. Okay, one's a little smaller, one's a little bigger, because the first one's going to have two things in it, and the second one's going to have three things in it, okay? So what I'm going to do is I want to figure out what the signs are first. So this is a little formula. It's in the book. You can look at it. You can memorize it if you want, and you do have to memorize it, but I'm going to just show you how I go about remembering how this works, okay? So I don't know if you remember when I first taught this, I talked about the signs right here. The first sign is going to be the same sign. The same sign is what? The same sign is this number right here. Okay, so the first one's going to be the same sign. The next one's going to be what? Do you remember me teaching this at all? No, not the second sign. Opposite, that's right. O for opposite. And now, right, the third one's going to be positive. So SOP, SOP, okay? However you want to remember it. Same, opposite, positive. So let's put the signs in right now. So what is the sign right here? It's the same sign. So you look here and you put what? Positive, right? This is always the opposite sign of whatever sign is right here. So what's the opposite sign? It would be negative. And this one's always positive. So we put a plus right there. So that's how I first start this out. To me, this is an easy way to do it. You could just sit there and memorize the formula, but I'm not good at memorizing formulas. I'm really not. So this is how I do it. I just put same, opposite, positive. Now you got to figure out what's going to go here and what's going to go here. Anybody remember? Well, we don't have any X's here, so we just have A's and B's. So one's going to be A and one's going to be what? B. All right, so that's pretty simple. So the first sentence, you just take these two and you stick it right here. Okay, it looks just like this without the cube. Right with me? Now, let's do the ends first. I'm going to do the middle one last. The ends. Now remember, this times this has to equal A cubed. So what's this going to be? A squared. And then if you do the very last, this one times this one is going to be what? B cubed. So what's this have to be? B squared. So that's how I set that up. Now the middle one's a little bit tougher, but you just have to remember it. Okay, this one is just you take these two right here and you just multiply them together. All right, and so that would be AB. And that's your formula. If you just write it down a few times, what I would suggest you do is this. Every time you do one of these problems, I'm going to assign 6 problems to you. And I may even do 1 or 2 of these in class with you, okay? And I'm actually going to assign some even ones. This is the first time all year that I've given you even problems to do, okay? So just be aware of that. So I will do a couple problems for you as an example. So really, you might only have to do 4 problems for homework. Okay, easiest homework yet. But what I would do for every single problem, I would write this down. Okay, the more you write it down, the more you start remembering. Okay, and do it like I did. Put the parentheses first, put the signs next, put an AB here, put an A squared, B squared, and then put an AB in here. Now, obviously, it's not always going to be A and B, is it? All right, what it's going to be, when you actually put the numbers in here, you're going to have different things here. It's not always going to be A and B, but it's just whatever is in this spot goes here, whatever is in this spot goes right there. All right, let's do the difference of 2 cubes. So let's do the difference of 2 cubes. It really is the same thing, except the signs are different. All right, so I put my 2 sets of parentheses, and let's do the signs again. Remember, it's same, opposite, positive. So this is the same sign as this right here. So this is going to be minus. The second sign is going to be the opposite sign. The opposite sign is plus. And then the last one's always going to be what? Positive. It's pretty easy to remember, isn't it? Figure out what the signs are going to be. Same, opposite, positive. And now you just fill it in. Okay, filling it in is just like we did up here. So I went A and B. I went A squared and B squared. And then I went AB right in the middle. If you can do that, you got a good start with doing these problems right here. Cameron. Go ahead. All right, let's find an example. Let me find, because I actually did these problems already for you. Oh, let's see. Oh, you know what? I messed up at the beginning of this. Oh, my goodness. I sure did. I was wondering, because I was pausing a little bit, and I was like, there's something going on here. And it's kind of close, kind of, but it's more like this. All right? It's not more like this. It's exactly like this. Yeah. It's this. It's a difference of 2 cubes. So this is being cubed and this is being cubed. I was wondering. I was like, wait a minute. That thing's already factored. Why would it say to factor it? So I've been running through my mind the whole time I've been explaining this about what was wrong, and now I finally realized it. So this is A cubed and B cubed. So it's not much difference. The formula is exactly the same, okay? But it does look like this. It's not in parentheses cubed because that's not the same thing. What I had before with it cubed out here is not the same thing as this. That's my bad, okay? I make mistakes once in a while. It's my first one this month, but no, just kidding. All right, so that's what it looks like right there. So that's your sum of 2 cubes. Sorry about that. That was terrible. There's probably math teachers or math students that already know how to do this or watching this video and probably freaking out that I did that. All right, let's do this. I'll do the first 2 problems for you, all right? Actually, I'll write them down, let you work on it, and then we'll figure out how it's supposed to go. So let's do number 33. By the way, I'll give you the homework assignment. It's page 56. And then I'll do the first 2 for you, and then I'll give you the rest of the time to work on it. So page 56, 33 to 38. 33 to 38. And we're going to call this section R5, and let's just call it part 4. Okay? Even though we're kind of going backwards a little bit, but let's call it that. So section R5 part 4, make sure you have that. Before you even start working on the homework problems, make sure that you write down on the top of your homework, section R5 part 4. That's how I look at it, okay? I don't look at your homeworks, even when I put it in my grade book. I don't put the page number and numbers in there. I just put the section number. All right, so make sure that you do that. So let's do number 33 together. Actually, I'm not going to do 34. 33 and 34 are very, very similar. Let's do this. Let's do 34 instead of 3, because 33, you'll have the answer in the back, so you'll know if you did it right. 34, you do not have the answer in the back. So we'll do it together. And it says to factor. All these say to factor. So here it is. it's x cubed plus 125. And you're probably looking at this and like, wait a minute, I don't see something cubed here. I see something cubed right here with the x. It's x cubed. But I don't see something cubed right here, or do you? Do you see something cubed? Yeah, you do. Peyton, what do you see? I see you nodding. We're going to write 125 as something a little bit different. Peyton, how are we going to write that? Peyton, what do you think? 5 what? 5 cubed. Very good. So what you have to do is look at this. They rig these things so it comes out so it's cubed, all right? So they'll always put a number here that you can find a number and cube it, and it's going to equal that number right there, okay? If you don't know some of those numbers, let's just go through a couple of them. What's 2 cubed off the top of your head? Do you know what that is? 8. It's 8. You should know that just like, 2 times 3, all right? So 2 cubed is 8. What about 3 cubed? We'll just do a few of these. I don't know a whole bunch of these. It's 27, because 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. 4 cubed, it's a little harder. 4 times 4 is 16. Anybody know what 16 times 4 is? 64, okay? And we'll go to 5 and we'll stop there. So 5 cubed, we already talked about it. 5 cubed is 5 times 5 times 5. Yep, 25 times 5. If you have 5 quarters, how much you have? You got 125 cents, right? $1.25? Yep. All right, everybody understand that? So you're going to see numbers that look like this. And you might see them bigger. But you can always use your calculator, right? If they put some big old number in there, you can say, I wonder what's being cubed to get that number. Because they'll always have a number that will come out even, all right, to a nice integer. So 125 is the same as 5 cubed. So which one is this? Is this the sum of 2 cubes or the difference of 2 cubes? It's the sum of 2 cubes, obviously, okay, because of the plus right there. So what I would suggest that you do, you don't have to do this for a quiz or a test. I mean, you don't have to do it. I'm not even going to make you do it on the homework. But what I would suggest that you do, well, you know what? I wouldn't even put the A and B stuff in here. We can just put the numbers in there. Goodness. I think this is just as good. So what we can do is do the same opposite positive first. So let's put the same. So what's the sign going to be right here? Plus. What's the next one? Minus. And what's the next one? Plus. Same opposite positive. Same opposite positive of this one, right? It's the same sign, plus. It's the opposite sign, negative. And this one, this third one's always going to be plus. And now we put the numbers in here. Instead of A and B, what's my A in this situation? It's X. What's my B in this situation? It's just a 5. Okay, put it right there. It's pretty easy, right? If you know the formula, it's easy. What's going to go right here? This thing's got to be squared, right? So it's going to be x squared. And this has got to be squared. What are we squaring here? The 5. So that is 5 squared. Okay, if you want to put a 5 squared and then do another step and then put 25, you can. But you can do that in your head, can't you? 5 squared? Yeah. So you just put a 5 squared right there. It's 25. Now, how do we find that middle one? What do we do with these two numbers? Multiply them together. Remember AB? So this is your A, this is your B. Just multiply them together. Are you going to put x5? You're going to put 5x, right? Okay, always put the coefficient out in front. And that's it. What you could do is you could look at this, because it looks like it's a trinomial, isn't it? Does that factor any further than that? Is there anything times anything that equals positive 25, or anything times, yeah, anything times anything is 25, and those same two numbers multiplied together is negative 5. Is there anything? No. 5 and 5 is not going to give you negative 5, is it? Okay, and 25 and 1 is not going to give you negative 5. So that's already factored. You can't go any further, so I would just circle that, and that would be my answer. It doesn't get much easier than this. Really doesn't, okay, for factoring the sum of 2 cubes or the difference of 2 cubes. So that was pretty basic. That was just throwing numbers, basically. The only real math you had to do was figuring out what that is as a cubed, right? And it's 5 cubed. You had to do a little math here. You had to multiply 5 and x, which isn't a big deal, and you had to square a 5, which really isn't a big deal. So the math part of this wasn't hard. It was just knowing the formula. All right, you ready to do one more? This one's a little trickier, okay? let's do an even one again so that we can see this. Let's do 38. It's the same idea, but they mix things up a little bit. All right, they're really messing with you on this one. But it's the same kind of problem. We're eventually going to still put it into that little formula that we use for the difference or the sum of, well, in this case, it's the difference of two cubes. Before I put those parentheses down and do the same opposite positive, Kylie, what do you think? Yep, very good, because we just went through that, right? We did some of those cubes. So 64 is 4 cubed. Very good. What about 27? 3 cubed. Good. Okay. So again, they rig these things. You know what I mean? All right. They put numbers in there that work. All right. They're not going to put like a 57 in there because you can't cube anything to get a 57. All right. Not a whole number anyway. All right. So let's do this. Personally, do you like the number by itself first? No. I like the cube. I like the X stuff first. Okay, now you don't necessarily have to do it this way, but I think it's a lot nicer. Okay, so let's do it my way. It's not really my way. The book does it this way too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the x cubed first. What are we going to do? Are we just going to put 27x cubed? You got to include the negative. That's very important. This is where you could get really mixed up on this. So I'm going to just move things around. Put the negative 27 cubed first, and then what are we going to put for the 64? Plus, right, 64. I'm not even going to worry about changing it into cubes just yet. All I wanted to do is just change the order that these things are in. You with me on that? Let's do this. Now, let's change the 27. So I'm going to put a negative out in front of this. What's being cubed to give you 27? We already talked about it. A 3. Okay, you could put a 3 cubed here, but something else is being cubed. What else is being cubed? The x. So I could just do this, couldn't I? See what I did? Why did I do that? Because I just want like one thing cubed. I don't want 3 cubed x cubed. Okay? It's the same exact thing if I put it in parentheses and put 3x in parentheses and then just have that one thing cubed. So what's my a in this situation? Remember the a and b? What's the a? The 3x, right. The 3x is the a. So whenever I see an a, what am I going to do? I'm going to put a 3x in its spot. Does that make sense? Nope, because this negative is just outside here. I'll just keep on including that negative all the way down the row. All right? I don't even have to worry about the negative. Well, I got to worry about it. I got to keep it there, but I'm not going to cube a negative and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to keep this negative on the outside. What about this? Plus, how am I going to rewrite this? 4 cubed. Good. So my a is 3x. What's my b? It's just 4, isn't it? Okay, so let me put some equal signs here. Some math teachers would freak out if you didn't put the equal signs here. I'm not all that concerned about it because I kind of know what you're doing, but a lot of math teachers, you got to put an equal sign there. All right, so remember, we're going to put the negative there because that negative still is involved, but now I can put my 2 parentheses and I can put my signs in here. So what's my sign? Now, look what I did. I turned this from a difference of 2 squares into a what? Sum of 2 squares. So what's the first sign? Same opposite positive. So it's positive, this one's negative, and this one's positive. So I put my signs first. Don't forget this negative. This negative has got to go all the way through here. If you don't put the negative here, I'm going to mark it wrong. And you're probably thinking, Mr. Hamrick, I can't believe you marked this wrong just because I forgot a negative. Well, there's a huge difference by forgetting a negative, so you can't forget that. So what am I going to put here? The a and the b. We said the a was 3x, and the b was 4. Okay, so I put that right there. That's pretty easy. Now, this might take a little bit of thought, but what goes right here? The a squared. So I'm going to have to take that 3x and square it. Is it just 3x squared? No, it's 9x squared because you're squaring the entire 3x. Let's do this off to the side. You're taking that whole 3x and you're squaring it. So that means I got to square everything in here. That gives me a 9x squared. And then I'm going to stick it right here. See what I did? Because they have to square the whole entire a, right? It's a squared. Well, a was 3x. I got to square that whole entire a, that whole 3x. I'm squaring it, and I got to square the 3, which is a 9. I got to square the x, which is an x squared. So it's 9x squared. Everybody see that? Okay, let's keep going. What's the next thing I'm going to do? Let's do the b, right? The b squared. So what is our b? It's 4. I square it, and I get 16. So I put a 16 right there. Everybody see that? I take the 4, and I square it, and that gives me 16, and I put it right here. How do I find what goes in the middle? That's AB, isn't it? So what was the A? 3x. What was the B? A 4. Multiply those together. What do I get? 12x. That's right. So that's what I put right here. I put 12x right here. And you're finished. Keep that negative out in front. And that's how you do it. So that one was a little bit trickier, right? We had to switch the order, and then you pull out the negative, and you actually got two different things that you're cubing here. You got a 3 and an x, but you work with it as it's one thing, okay? You think of this thing in the parentheses as your a, and you just have to remember, if I square the a, I have to square the whole entire parentheses, and that's why I get the 9 and the x squared. So it was definitely a little bit tougher than the first one, but it's the same process though, right? Once you figure out what the a is and what the b is, then you just chuck it into your little formula and you're good to go. What do you think? It's not so bad, is it? All right, so what problems did I give you to do? 33 to 38, okay? You've already done 2 of them. Make sure you include it. If you did it in your notes, do it again on your homework problem, okay? And make sure that you have this at the top of your page, R5 Part 4. And that's all I got for you today. So now you've got the rest of the time basically just to do 4 problems, all right? I'll tell you what, at the end of the class, I'll tell you what the evens are. So what are the evens? 36, or 34, 36. No, we already did 34. 36 and 40. Or no, I didn't give you up to 40. Yeah, just 36 is the only one, right? All right. I'll let you work on that yourself. It's right there. It's right there. Take notes. That's what you're supposed to be doing this whole time. Okay, I had this up like 20 minutes ago. What do you mean? I'll put the answer. The answer you mean? Are you talking about the answer? 36 is just like 38. It's just different numbers. Okay, there's no particular equation for it. Yeah, it's in your book. Did you bring your book? No? I mean, you got to bring your book. I'm sorry if you get ticked off at me for always...
No, I'm not mad.
Okay, but you got to bring your book. That's part of the deal. I have a book up here if you want to use it, but you need to bring your book. All right, I'll give you the answer to 36 once you finish, once we start getting close to the end of class. All right, enough of that. Let's stop recording, and then I'll let you work.